So, as mentioned earlier, Allison talked about having an emergency kit, and John talked about having an emergency kit. And sometimes people find that really overwhelming, right? How do I get this kit together? This doesn't have to be done in one day, in one weekend. A lot of times, the stuff that we need in an emergency kit are found right in our house. Most of us have a flashlight. Most of us have canned goods. Most of us have a can opener, a manual can opener. We have different things. We have first aid kits. These are all things that could go into an emergency kit. And when I've been thinking about emergency kits, when I'm out and about talking to people, I'm finding now more and more people are kind of strapped for space. Where do I put this? Like, this sounds like a big thing that I need to have. And nowadays, more people are living in townhouses and condominiums and manufactured homes that don't have a lot of space. They don't have a basement. They don't have a huge area where they've designated to store something like this. But there's always a solution to a problem. So one of the things that I think is a really good tip is using a suitcase. Almost everybody has a suitcase. You can pop your emergency stuff in your suitcase and put it back where you normally have that stored, which might be, again, might be in your very small closet or under a bed. But it seems to work out really well for people that are living in much smaller areas. As well, families are different now. At one time we were, the family usually was together and you were in one home. But now many of us live with, I spend half of the time with my mom, half of the time with my dad. So again, thinking about having that smaller kit, and for a student, if you're spending half of your time at both parents' place, using it just a smaller travel-on bag to have emergency supplies for you at your parents' house. And because it really, space is one of those things, and I'm hearing that more and more and more. So I just wanted to bring that up. There are lots of good resources as to the things that you can have in your emergency kit. But one of the things, after a big earthquake in particular, it will be a very stressful time. So we like to think about the things that we can put in there that give us comfort. My colleagues here know that I like to have what I call the emergency bag of potato chips. I have a few different items that bring me comfort, but I've started with another new thing, and I'm going to just pull it up. Comfort is a lot of things, and I also like chocolate. Get this where you can see it. It's a s'mores kit. And what I like about this, everything is packaged. If you had to put it in a suitcase, you're not taking up too much room. Everything is sort of protected the way it's in this package. But you have your chocolate, you have a cookie, and for those who like a marshmallow, you have that. And if you had to, you could probably make a s'mores, but I just like the idea of having something like that. What I do, and I just bought this one, I always write the date. So I'll write, it's May, and the year, and then I know 6 months if it's still there to go and get rid of it by
By
consuming it.
get rid of it, you mean have a snack, Jerry.
Yes, I said consume it. I can consume it. Another thing, when we do have an earthquake, there are going to be some resources that are really important actually for your parents. And those kind of resources are having enough power for them to be able to use their phones to get emergency messaging or for them to text. So we're so used to everybody, including, our kids, using their cell phones, to occupy time to play games. Uh, we are definitely going to have power outages after an earthquake. So as much as we like, and I do like this, and I know John does as well, our power banks, it's probably better to let our parents use the power bank, even though we wanted to be able to play our game. So this is when we have to go old school. So your emergency kit should have things, and this is right out of my emergency kit. In my Ziploc bag, I have a deck of cards. I have family charades, and that sounds really silly, but I'm telling you, it's a lot of fun. I have a puzzle in there. I get these things from garage sales. It's a great time of the year to get items for your emergency kit. I also have a smaller one that has all sorts of different games in it. Again, garage sale. Because you're going to want to be occupied. I'm sure your parents will put you to work, but you have to have some sort of fun to relieve tension and such. So, being able to use the traditional games instead of the ones that we might use on our cell phones. That cell phone that your parents have is so very important for them to be able to, text message and receive messages. So we don't want to be interfering with that. We don't want to be using our phones. We'll mention this again. It takes up too much bandwidth. But a text message, and this is a really good thing about text messages, you can send a text message. You're probably not going to get an answer right away, but they sit in a queue and they will eventually reach the place they're supposed to be. So we like to leave that open for mom and dad. What else do I have here? John talked about having a flashlight. And, I do love the traditional old flashlight, but I am a super fan of headlamps. And I have one that I can charge. It's rechargeable. And I have one with batteries, and I make sure I have the other batteries. But the beauty of the headlamp, and I will demonstrate like so, you notice my hands are free. I can do things. If you're, just stuck with a regular flashlight, it's quite difficult to maneuver and get around things. So I just find it very handy, and it's a great thing to use during power outages. And believe me, we get a lot of power outages where I live, so I use that a lot. My other handy thing, because of power outages, and this is new to me, is a solar. See the solar panel on the top light, and it also has a little area where I can actually recharge some items. So this is a good one to have. If you don't have a power bank, you can charge your phone and a few other things. And I'm kind of stoked with this one. And I have used this now 4 times this year. 4. So one of
Good
the things,
investment, Jeri. Good investment.
well, and this one I did pay like it was brand new. It cost me $25 and tax. But a lot of the items I get, seriously, I do buy them at garage sales. And one of the things that we like to promote to people, if you're prepared for an earthquake, you really are prepared for everything else. My kit was developed with earthquake in mind, but ask me how many times I've used it this year because of power outages. So, then I'm ready for everything.
And I think that's the message we hope that folks take away today is, I have started, and I know my colleagues do this too, and that is, I've started giving emergency preparedness items for birthdays or holidays or Mother's Day, Father's Day, Grandparents' Day, just because it's Tuesday, whatever. One of my favorite items is I have this little fancy Swiss Army knife, but it's not a knife, right? But it's all the tools inside. It looks like a credit card, and I ordered it on Amazon. And so that was a gift that I gave to people close to me during the holiday period. And it's great. And it's never been taken away. I keep it in my purse. So it's always, right there. Jeri shared her s'mores kit, but I want to just give you mine is candy. So I like to have candy. I also like chips. Storm chips are a thing, but candy is fun. These are great. If you have somebody in your family that has a dietary concern or a food allergy, for example, my husband happens to be allergic to dairy. So I use these vegan bliss balls, for example. These are in my kit as well. They take up a little more space, but at least then I know that he has something that he can also enjoy. So these are things we have to think about. Jeri, I know you like to talk about pet preparedness also usually. So if we were thinking about we have a dog or a cat or maybe a scaled or furry friend, what would you suggest to keep our pets to be thinking about for our pets?
Well, one of the things in particular is always having food stored in there. And again, writing the date on it and switching it out. So one of the things is right now we're in emergency preparedness week. And 6 months from now, it'll be I call it shakeout week.
Yeah.
So there's 2 times of the year that I actually go through my emergency kit and switch things out. So for pet food, I would always have some dried food in there, obviously some canned food. I also have the collapsible food dishes just in case I wouldn't be able to stay there. I can take that with me. It's all in one thing. I like to have an extra leash And sometimes, truth is, even in my car, I don't have a dog right now, but I've got a couple of leashes in my car because you never know when there's an emergency and somebody needs one. I recently had to respond to something, and we needed a leash, and for the person to help out. So I was able to just go from my car and grab one. So having, a spare leash, identification, having a picture actually of your pet. So this is one of the times where I know most people just like to keep a picture on their phones, but your phone may go dead. Having an actual picture of your pet, so that should your pet get lost during an emergency, you've got some way of identifying them.
That's such a good tip.